Hey everybody, it's Kate Richburg and welcome to Bead Shop Live. For you folks, it's Wednesday, April 23rd. For me, it's the 21st. Confused? Me too. But as you can see down at the bottom, you can see this broadcast is pre-recorded, and I'm going to introduce you to our new kit, trade route that dropped this morning. And I'm going to show you how I put it together. If the kits, I have a feeling that there'll still be kits available, but if you're watching this later on down the road, right, and you're like, oh, I love this, I want to make some more, or I want to make, use my own beads or whatever, I'm going to show you the kit. We'll take the kit out. I'm going to show you how to line it up. We've got a great handout from Janice's original trade route. And so we'll walk it through. I'm not going to make the complete piece today because, to be honest, this is the night before I leave on my retreat, and I've had a really long day. But you know how to do this. And we'll get into it. Don't worry. You're going to do just fine. But I think you will, you'll enjoy this. So as you know, this is a pre-recorded broadcast. Janice is on the other side of the computer, typing away, answering your questions. So I'm sorry if I miss a question. Hopefully it'll get answered in the chat. Let me add my kit and everything to the stage here. And let me also add our graphic here to say thank you so much for watching. Find us on all our socials. You know the drill. Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. Hit that like, subscribe, and notification button right over on YouTube. Questions, hit us up at info@beadshop.com. And of course, tag us anywhere online on the World Wide Web at beadshop.com so we can see what you're making with our stuff. Okay. Let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of this banner here. I hope you folks have been enjoying Color Week so far, right? We've been having, every day I've been putting some things in the newsletter that's all about color. I've kind of recycled that color handout I did for you a few months back, and I'm putting one tip a day in. So I don't know what we're up to today tip-wise, but it's going to go through the weekend. Friday, I have another fun project for you that you're going to like, a great wrap bracelet. And then Saturday and Sunday, we're going to end with some other color things as well. So don't forget to check your emails all this week. But I hope you like this one. Oh, and speaking of things I hope you liked, did you read your newsletter yesterday and you read Janice's tribute to her mom? It was Lydia's birthday on Tuesday. And so it's a great picture of Janice in her pram and her mom sitting on the hood of the car with her dad, and it was great. So if you didn't open your newsletter yesterday, you saw the cabochon drop, the vintage cabochons that Lydia would have loved, as well as that terrific tribute that Janice did to her mom. So that's going on there. So let's take a look at the kit and stuff, shall we? Okay, so the inspiration for this kit, I showed you folks this kit a while back, or this project actually a while back. And if you haven't checked out in our archives, if you go under projects, I just want to make sure I'm leading you in the right place. If you actually go, it's not projects, if you go under learning and you go under archive projects, you'll see a whole bunch of projects that we used to have, handouts and things when we had our brick and mortar store in Palo Alto and other places around the Bay Area. This is a classic bead shop project from those days. This is a piece that Janice put together, and all I did was kind of use her piece as inspiration and remake it for you. Because I love this piece. I love kind of the kind of wearability that it has. I love all of the different little treasures that are in it. So I really wanted to recreate it and use Janice's as kind of a jumping off point. So you can see here, this is Janice's original piece. This is called Trade Route. And what she did was, it's a variety of different beads here, strung on fine Ceylon with macrame in between. Somewhere between when this piece was completed in 2011 and today, this disc piece has fallen off. So the disc isn't in your project. It went somewhere on the trade route, or we might have, I don't know, used it for another project. Who knows? But anyway, if you have a disc or something that you want to add, you certainly can, but it's not going to come in your kit. Okay. But what is going to come in your kit, I had a little stash of these Christmas beads. So you can add those in. I'll show you those as well. So this piece, let me measure it for you. You have enough beads here to make this a little bit longer, and you can always put more macrame in between as well. Okay, it's really just depends on what you like. But this length is about 23 inches or so total. You can make it a little bit longer with, as I say, a little more macrame. You could add beads from your stash, whatever you like. I think Janice used the Celadon maybe here. I chose to go with Sienna. The thread also is not in your kit. Okay, so the kit has the beads, the buttons, all of that in here. You are going to need to add your thread of choice. You can get fine Ceylon out of your stash or here from Bead Shop. You're going to need a needle. I'm using the flexible eye in medium. You could use it in fine. You could even use an extra fine if you wanted, but medium and fine are the best. You need some GS Hypo, of course, and you need a thread burner, right, to burn the ends of your thread. And that's what, oh, and some thread snips, of course. So essentially, let's take a look. This handout is really fantastic that Janice created, and it's really thorough, no surprise. So as we go in, you're going to see the ingredients, of course, are going to differ, okay? Back in the day, we carried tough cord, we carried, different types of threads. Unfortunately, tough cord is not available to us any longer, which is a bummer. But you can use, as I say, Ceylon in fine. You could also use wax linen. Janice doesn't really recommend it because it is a little thick, but you could string your base beads on fine and then do your macrame with wax linen if you wanted, right? You could play around with it. And then we just have, some other kind of the basics that you need. Okay. So Janice has a listing of all of her tools and materials that she used. These materials are long, long gone from our stash, but you can still find some very similar things. I have some Christmas beads in there for you. I've got some other specialty beads in here. I've got a metal ring. I've got a couple of brass rings in there for you, so you'll see that. Janice is saying here, you're going to need about 18 inches of beads to create a necklace about 22 inches in length, and that's definitely what you have. She's gone through and she talks a bit about how to add your threads, things like that. I'm going to show you that in just a second. But she also details how to do the macrame, which is great. It's really a standalone. Back in the day when we had a little more time to do really comprehensive handouts, this is such a great one. But you can see Janice is nodding and nodding, going along, adding beads. So you'll keep going. And if you, seriously, I mean, I could stop this video right now and just say follow the handout and it would be good to go. But there's some great things you want to consult here as you're macrameing down. On page 8 here, it's going to show you how to add those Christmas beads. Can you see that there? Essentially on the Christmas beads, you string the Christmas beads on the left hand outer cord, on the right hand outer cord, just enough to go around the bead, and you choose the bead that you want them to go around. Then you tie a knot underneath and you're good to go. You keep going. Okay. You keep going, and you can see here Janice just kind of silk wrapped with wire to add this little disc. I've given you 2 little discs, so you could actually do it. It would be a little bit smaller, but I'm going to show you how to do that. She also has a great handout on regular silk wrapping, which is great. We need to actually, Janice, pull this out of this handout and post this handout just as is, because it is a great standalone how to silk wrap handout here, right? There's also a wire wrapping with wire, wrapping with wire here, which is also great. That's how you could attach that little tiny small disc if you wanted. Really another great kind of standalone handout in there. And then Janice talks about how to add more thread and how to make this button loop on the end, right? I mean, this handout, it's like 16 pages of a masterclass from JP, right? Here's how to macrame the end. And here's how to close it off using that thread burner. Let's keep going. And then some other design ideas here. Okay, so it's very, very comprehensive. Let's take a look at the kit itself and how the kit relates to Janice's original that she did. And then I'll let you have at. Okay, I want to show you a couple of tips, but you'll be able to just follow that handout and you'll be good to go. So here's Janice's piece. I'm using our design board, our ultimate design board here. I'm going to turn this over kind of so maybe it's like this so we can see that as well. But in your kit, you've got a bunch of different beads. I've been hoarding these beads. I always say that when I do a show. It's like, oh, I've been hoarding these beads. And you're like, how many beads can you actually hoard? And you'd be surprised. So you've got 4 baggies of beads and a bag of findings here. Okay. Let's take the beads out first. All right. I'm going to just dump out all of the beads from the baggies here because I want to see them. I'm going to do these 3, right? Like this. Then I'm going to keep these Christmas beads aside because then you can decide which beads you're going to do the Christmas beads around. Okay. There's also in these, they have a mix of some little longer beads as well that you can pull out and just use in your stringing piece. Okay. Whatever works. You don't have to do these little kind of little wraps with the Christmas beads. You could really use them also in the design. You could straight string this. It does not have to be knotted, right? You could add beads from your stash, whatever, right? But if you want to replicate this look, I'll show you how that goes. So let's take one of these big agates. We'll put that to the side. And we've got some of these kind of flat beads over here. I'm going to put those to that side. You've got some, you remember that beautiful turquoise I got last year in Tucson? You've got some turquoise in there. You've got, I think, a turquoise round and some nuggets. Okay, they're going to all look a little bit different, but they're that really nice turquoise. I had a little bit left over So I took ones out of my stash. I'm all, well, they need some turquoise in here. I might put that close to the center. This is a jade disc. Here's some serpentine, a serpentine round. Here's some carnelian rounds. I've given you a pearl that has a big hole, and I thought where you would use that is here at the end. When you bring your loop back in, right, you need a bead with a large hole. So I earmarked this pearl for that. Okay. I got you, this is a Swarovski old school big hole. I'm going to put like down there. There's some of the recycled glass, another recycled glass, a zebra jasper. Here's some, maybe I'll put one of those over there and like these three over there. Maybe one of these, I don't know, down here. You lay this out however you're moved to lay it out, right? Maybe I'll get those kind of a little further apart. But I think that the fun, well, it's all fun, but one of the really fun parts of this is just laying out all of these beads in an array that you like. I'm going to do an intentional repeat there. I'm going to do an intentional repeat there. I'm going to throw one of those there, one of these. Maybe I'll put that carnelian there. I've got a few little crystals. Maybe I'll put a crystal there, a crystal there, a crystal there. Maybe I'll put those right there. Another crystal here. So you can see you've got plenty. I mean, I've got a lot of space in there, but that space is going to be taken up with thread as well. So I'm just going to kind of keep, you know, I'm going to put these smaller ones kind of in the middle. They're small beads, but the holes are pretty big. Okay. So hopefully all of these beads will fit on there. We'll test them, but I checked everything. But there might be a bead or two on the strand that might not work, but you've got plenty. Okay. So there's my little layout. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a little screenshot. Let me make this look nice. I'm going to take a screenshot so I can put it up on the project page. Here's the button. Now, see here how I've woven through there. I want to show you how I do that. So maybe I'll put that, I don't know, over there. And if you want to wire wrap and put like this little ring on somewhere, you could too. Okay. So that looks good. Here are our Christmas beads. Let me see if I can successfully take a screenshot without turning off my camera. Did I do it? No, I turned off the camera. Hang on. I'm just going to take this off. I'm going to take my screenshot and then I'll be right back. How's that? There we go. So let me go there. Let me go there. I'm going to, oh, that looks even better. I'm going to do that. There we go. So you know the shot is on the page. I did it like 21 minutes and 8 seconds into the broadcast. There we go. Okay. So there's that. Let me add this back. Okay. So let me show you. Let me get this nice and clear for you, focused here. There we go. So essentially, you're going to cut your threads. I'm going to cut some short pieces of threads just so you can see how I put it through this button and how I get it started. Okay. So Janice calls for, I think she calls for like a ton of thread, right? Let me consult. She says 7.5 yards, I think. That's a lot. You can always add a little thread later. Oh, here we go. She says, cut a length of thread 5 yards long. Okay, and thread your needle. Bring the needle to the middle, 5.5 yards. Stop at the halfway point. All 4 strands will be the same length. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to do this just shorter so you can see this, right? So let me say maybe I was doing 18 inches, right? So I'd go 18, 18, 18, and 18. Okay, I'm going to cut that. And then I'll show you what JP means by that. Make sure I've got this right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to come in with my thread that has the needle. And it's like how we do the poetry project. We've done this before, but I just want to remind you. Okay? I'm going to come through like this. I'm going to come up the button and down the button. And now what I do is I make sure that all of the strands are the same length. Can you see that? The needle is on the bottom of one, and there's open strands on the other 2. And see how here it is, right here. So this strand with the needle is what you're stringing your beads on, right? These 2 strands that are over here, this is what you're macrameing with. All right, does that make sense? So let me get this board. Hang on. So now what we're going to do here, I'm just going to put this here real quick. Let me get a piece of thread. And I'm going to show you, though Janice shows you in the handout, but essentially I get my button around on my board, and my center threads that have the needle, those are what I'm going to string my beads on. My 2 threads on the sides are what I'm going to macrame with. Okay, so basically I make a few macrame flat knots, and you could even tie a knot if you wanted to at the beginning. It doesn't really matter because it's under the button, right? But I want to make this center strand tight. So let me get another clip here. This is a great way to start a lot of necklaces, even if you're just going to kind of string one after the other, right? It's a great way to use kind of this button and loop kind of closure. So you're going to macrame down, and you can consult the handout. Oops, I missed that one. For the details of this, or you can go to our skill builders. We've got our skill builders on, how to macrame. Essentially, you want to macrame enough to clear the button, right? Because that little length that you're doing, that's going to kind of be like the button shank, what fits in the loop. So once you've gotten that far, maybe I'll do 2 more. 1 and 2, like this, right? There we go. Now, I'm going to come back to this length here, my layout. That pearl is my ending pearl. I needed that big loop. I'm going to grab this bead. Let me zoom out a little, pan out here. There we go, so you can kind of see this. What I do is I unclip my thread, and you could string everything on. Obviously, you have much more thread. This is just my little practice, so I'm not using a billion yards of thread, right? But you might want to test a few, especially the smaller ones, to make sure that everything goes on. But I think we'll be fine. Let me just get this here. I did check everything, but there might be one. Let's try this little one. Well, the hole is big, so I don't think we're going to have any trouble. Yeah, see, that just slides on perfectly. So now, let me show you. You've got all your beads, right? And you can go as far as, not put on as many or as few as you're looking to. And see here, let me lay down Janice's piece. You just start, really, right? So you're going to pull up a thread, pull up a bead, bring your threads around, and macrame. Macrame to the left, macrame to the right. This is sienna that I'm using. You can use any color of the rainbow, really. But I would recommend Ceylon in fine for this. Okay, let me zoom in a little closer. Now you can see that a little bit better. So you're going to macrame as many. It looks like Janice has like 2 or 3 between each one. You can do whatever you want. Right? I was being too fast. Let me take that out. Go here and tighten that down. Now go here. Tighten up this thread. Tighten this down. Now slide up your next bead. Okay? And you're just going to keep going, keep going. Let me show you. I'm going to put, this might be a little bit small, but I'll show you anyway. Here's our Christmas beads. Let me put that in this little triangle. Whenever you want to surround one of your beads with beads, you basically identify the bead as you're going along and string some beads along the side. You might go with a bead that's a little bit bigger than this, but I don't know, maybe not. Let's see what this looks like. It's here. I'm going to show you, so that's what I'm going with. I'll finish it with a kind of a tiny little bead, if I can. Yep, there we go. So I'll come in, and you can see there's that side comes around there. And I'll come around on this side. Oops. Try and hang on to them. There it is. I love these little stripes. Now I'll just come in, and I want to make sure that these are about the same length. So let me search around for another one. There we go. And you just come in. I'm going to move that or else it's going to end up on the floor. Then you just come in and tie your knots, right? Let it kind of float around there. Don't be too super tight, but just get it in there. Hold it. And then get your second knot up there. And see, look at how great that looks. So good. And then just continue on, right? Once you get to the loop, I want to show you this little brass circle. These are also out of my stash. You might have seen these before. I had them up on the website a while back, and I found just enough, like literally just enough to add them to the kit. So basically, what Janice had in this piece, where'd the necklace go? Oh, If it would have been a snake, would have bit me. See here, this loop that she has, it actually has a hole going through. So what she did was she just put the thread through the loop and pulled the thread on the outside of it. Okay, but we can't do that with this because this doesn't have a loop. So basically what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put 2 tails going through like this, right? The tails with the needle. And I'm going to put the other tails going the opposite way. So it's weaving through like a figure 8, right? Just like that. And they'll kind of sit there, right? They'll kind of move around a little bit, but I think that's okay. I'm going to bring everything together. I'm going to tie it in an overhand knot. I'm going to kind of make sure that that stays where I want it. You could also start your macrame, but I think I want to, you know what? No, I lied to you. Hold, please. The knot would work, but I think a more sensible solution is actually a bead than a knot. So that's what happens when you kind of have to adapt your technique to the materials at hand, right? These crystals have a nice large hole. So I'm able to get all 4 threads through here. Okay, like so. There we go. See how that makes it a lot easier to deal with that thread. Now, what I'm going to do is I think I will macrame below it. I'm going to get my strand with the needle. I am going to clamp it back to my design tray, and I'm just going to keep going here. This, I know you're wondering, why are you using a black design tray? These are trays that I have had in my stash like forever and ever. So, and it was just sitting here. So these wood trays are kind of fun, but they're old. So see here how this just kind of comes together and you can just keep going. You could also put like a bead in the center here. You could put some seed beads. You could put one of those long bugle beads, whatever you want. But that's how you deal with that. You go through from one side through to the other and then tie your knot below. Then you just keep going, keep measuring, keep going. And Janice shows you on the end how to create this loop. Essentially, you use that bead that has a long hole. You come in, you macrame twice as long as you think you need. This is probably about 1.5 inches or so measure. And then you bring those strands back down through and you tie it off under this bead. Super, super simple. And again, you can decide what order you want to string yours in. You can see mine's already starting to get kind of out of order. But you can see here how that's starting. Now, the directions also show you how to add threads. Essentially, once you run out of thread, you just simply add another piece, right? You bring another piece around all 4 strands, tie that macrame knot, tie it for a few, add some glue, and then cut your open, your single threads away, and then continue to macrame with that new thread that you've added. So that is it, my friends. I'm also going to link this handout onto the kit page. So you'll have that there. You'll be able to download this as well. But I think with the tips that I've shared in this video, the magnum opus that Janice has written for this trade route handout, I think you're going to be in great shape. Again, this trade route necklace kit, there's only a limited amount. So if you're watching this later and you're like, oh man, I missed the kit, just download the handout, right? And go stash diving. Literally, if you have ones and twos of beads, it's perfect for this. Lay them out on your design board, lay them out in kind of a pleasing lineup, right? That you like. You're going to need about 18 inches or so of beads. Pick a Ceylon color and then go for it, right? I think it'll be fun for you to play around with. Now you can see here on these beads here, and Janice talks about it in the handout, you know, sometimes if the bead has kind of an odd shape, like you can see this one, the strands kind of come around and they move a little bit here. Doesn't make any difference, right? It's all very kind of organic in feel. So let it, you know, let the beads go where they will, right? But it's a fun project. I hope you enjoy creating it. I can't wait. Share over on the bead table, please, with what you've made. Let me put this up one more time here so it reminds you folks to reach out if you have questions, info@beadshop.com. Hit us up all over the web, all over our social media at beadshop.com. Hit that like, subscribe, and notification button over on YouTube so you never miss a video. Our Facebook group, try that again. Our Facebook group is the Bead Table, and our Instagram and Pinterest pages are also full of inspiration and ideas. Well, thank you so much, my friends. As I said, Friday, we'll have another project for you, all celebrating this color week. I'll be back Friday. And then the following week, we have Janice and her color story project, which is going to be a great one. Have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday, fantastic rest of your week in general. And I will see you Friday for Free Tip Friday. Enjoy, and I hope you like this kit. Thanks so much, all. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.